are these people?
Here's more manufacturing consent, and this is actual receipts. Now, if I remember correctly, Russell Bentley is an American reporter, and he had an appearance on the Gray Zone pretty recently. And now I find him in CovertAction magazine, and he's actually on the ground in Ukraine. So this is going to be a fascinating perspective, looking at exactly what is being published in different outlets and taking a look at what's the actual case and what's really happening here. So again, the writer here is Russell Bentley. So what Russell says is that there's an old wise maxim that says the first step on the road to wisdom is to call things by the right name. So let's do that. Fake news has been around a long time. So the New York Sun's Great Moon Hoax of 1835 is a good and amusing example. An absolute falsehood and fantasy was published as a fact to a credulous public who ate it up. And the Sun claimed that life existed on the moon. Hey, I didn't even know about this. And here's the story about the inhabitants of the moon. This fake news story.
Wait, go back.
Go ahead.
Go back. I'm just like, I just want to like take a minute to like soak in this image, you know?
Yeah, sorry.
And, like the grainy, like, is that a bear in the background on the right? Is that a little bear guy? What is that? You know?
Is that a child? He looks like he's got a beard.
I don't know.
So
It looks like a family of bears.
I do see that, like over by the water. Like it does look like a family of bears.
The little huts back there. The little,
right in front of the huts. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Yep. So humans and bears living alongside each other. Mass hysteria. So this fake news story.
Sorry. Go ahead.
This fake news story established the Sun as a major and highly profitable newspaper throughout the United States. 50 years later, Hearst and Pulitzer were competing with each other for readership by publishing preposterous and sensationalist phony stories that became known as yellow journalism, or as Russell calls it, urinalism. That's pretty funny.
Urinalism. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Because the media that will publish such swill and the hacks who write for them are fit only for cleaning toilets. But those carefree days are long in the past, and fake news is no longer funny. The practice of publishing false stories, right, for political or financial motives has probably been around much longer than that. But today it's been elevated to science and an art form, a black art form that is truly one of the greatest threats to the future of humanity in the world today. It is mass brainwashing on a global scale, abetted by science and technology on a war on human consciousness, a concentrated and deliberate attack on people's ability to see reality and discern fact from lies. It is a war against the truth.
Yep.
Okay. It's been correctly said that a respect for the truth is the basis for all morality. So a war against the truth is a war against morality, against all that is good and decent. Okay, without an ability to see reality and detect lies, without a moral compass, people are literally no more than dumb beasts, mules to be worked and exploited by their owners, or sheep to be led to the slaughter. Fake news is a term a bit too cute and cozy for the black art of intentionally erasing the very intellect and morality that makes us human. It seeks to dumb down and degrade humanity to the point where people are no longer human, and that point is fast approaching, and for many is already here. And he's going to give 3 concrete and irrefutable examples of genuine Nazi propaganda produced by the West, US and Europe, about the war in Ukraine in just the last month, which not only attempt to cover up the crime of intentional mass murder attacks on civilians, but go further still and attempt to blame the actual victims for the crimes of the US, EU, and Ukrainian Nazis. You will see by these 3 indisputable examples how information is used as a truly evil weapon, how to defend against it, and how to destroy it with the truth. That's why I thought this was really important to bring up. So here's a photo, okay, where they're using emotionally charged images. The carnage, la stampa. That's what the translation translates to, the carnage. The Italian newspaper La Stampa published the photo above on March 15th, showing a horrific scene at the mass murder of civilians by illegal cluster munitions delivered to a city center by a ballistic missile. Some 24 civilians, including an entire family with 2 kids, were murdered, and dozens more gravely injured. It's a terrible story. The headlines in red across the top: Russia kills 400 in Mariupol. Kiev prepares for Russian attack. I think I actually cropped that out in order to save space. That was actually in between. So sorry about that.
Gotcha.
Emblazoned across the photo, the carnage. The photo is real, and while the headlines are intentionally misleading, they're not outright lies. They don't have to be. The liars at La Stampa don't actually have to lie. Most Europeans, like most U.S. citizens, lead busy lives. They don't look beyond the headlines, and they're easily deceived by nothing more than insinuations. And propagandists like those at La Stampa know it. I could tell you that the photo actually shows the results of a Ukrainian army war crime by a Tochka-U missile that was intentionally launched at Donetsk city center around 12 o'clock noon Monday, March 14th, that in fact it was intended to kill many times more than the 24 civilians who were murdered. La Stampa misread its leaders by failing to report on the right city where the attacks were launched, a city, Donetsk, that Ukraine and not Russia has been shelling for 8 years. I could also tell you that the weekend before, fake UKROP, which is Ukrainian Association of Patriots, troll accounts on Russian and other social media spread false stories that the Democratic People's Republic, the DPR administration, would be giving news about the status of DPR soldiers at 12:30 on March 14th at the administration building in central Donetsk, and wives, mothers, soldiers, and daughters of soldiers should come there then. They invited the people to where they sent the missile.
Jesus Christ.
This message was also sent by text message to specific phones of female family members of soldiers by spoofed DPR administration accounts. He can confirm it. The daughter of one of his friends serving at the front showed him the exact message on her phone. He could tell you the missile was intercepted by DPR air defense, and only 2 canisters of cluster bomb submunitions actually detonated when they hit about 500 meters from the administration building on University Avenue in central Donetsk, and had the missile reached its target, the death toll would have been in the hundreds. Maybe you would believe me, maybe some would not, but I can show you 2 photos that prove it. Here's the first one, where he's standing in the same spot as the grieving husband in La Stampa photo. You can see that there's the flowers in the spot. The beret and the scarf of the grieving man's wife. Oh. She died right there. Look at this. The blood's still on the pavement. Now, what do you think of La Stampa's work? Not only trying to cover up the intentional mass murder of civilians, but blaming the victims and their defenders for the very crime. Now, again, let me go back. He's standing in the very same spot, and that is in Donetsk, not in...
Right.
Not where they say it is, which is
right
where the massacre occurred. Is it Mariupol where the massacre occurred, where they were talking about?
I think so. I think that's
this is the spot. So, not only trying to cover up the intentional mass murder of civilians, but blaming the victims and their defenders for the very crimes of the Nazis that La Stampa and Italy support. This is a black lie, a damn lie, literally the exact opposite of the truth, and the vast majority of Western citizens lap up these lies. Jesus. And FYI, the photographer who took the heart-rending photo La Stampa stole was neither paid nor credited or even asked permission to use his photo for this Italian version of Nazi propaganda. And it may not even be knowingly perpetrating Nazi propaganda, but that's what it ends up perpetrating. Well, as you might say, it's an isolated incident, and mistakes happen, but it is neither an isolated incident nor a mistake. The editors of La Stampa knew exactly where the photo was from and what it showed, and they used it intentionally to lie. And pseudo-journalists do the same thing in the USA. Yep. Here's another one. Example 2. Russia continues bombardment of Ukrainian cities for the New York Post, which is, I believe, a Rupert Murdoch-owned rag. Again, but an even more blatant intention to mislead, the lie. to lie. The photo, again, is the aftermath of a Ukrainian missile attack on a civilian residential area of Donetsk, not far from my home in Petrovsky district. That's the building. He's going to show you where that building is. He's going to walk over to that building. Another terrorist attack by Ukraine Nazis against civilian targets, blamed by U.S. Nazi propagandists on DPR and Russian defenders of the very civilians in Ukraine's attacked and murdered. Can I prove it? Well, yes, I can. Here I am in front of the exact same apartment building hit by the Ukraine Nazi missiles. An honest headline would read, Ukraine continues bombardment of Donbas cities.
Okay.
The New York Post, however, did not specify the city where the building was located that they put, and that it had been and suggested that it had been bombed by Russia when it had actually been bombed by the Ukrainian DPR. But these Nazi propagandists do not stop at simply blaming their victims for their own crimes. That dirty double cross is not as low as they can go, not by a long shot. They even, in a transatlantic quadruple cross conspiracy, connived to discredit truthful reports by adding their own logo to honest news and then announcing to the world that the report is not theirs. Behold. This is the railway attack thing. Right?
Right.
So this is The Guardian, I believe. BBC warns of fake video claiming Ukraine carried out the attack. The video, mocked up with BBC News logo, has been aired on Russian state TV and spread across social media. The BBC has warned that a video carrying its branding, in which it is claimed that a missile attack on a railway station that killed dozens of people was carried out by Ukraine, is fake. Wait, what? On April 8th, the Tochka U, and I think we've all seen this picture. I think he's gonna show it in a minute. The same type used at the university attack 3 weeks before was fired at the railway station, right? As 4,000 local civilians waited to evacuate the city before fighting broke out. This was blamed on Russia. I remember this very clearly. Some 57 civilians were killed, 109 wounded in another wanton attack that had no military purpose, but fit hand in glove with the usual false flag terror attacks for which Ukraine has become well known. The proof was and is overwhelming. There is zero doubt that this missile was a Tochka U and that it came from Ukrainian-held territory. Ukraine continues to use Tochka U missiles in the Donbas war, while the Donbas republics have none. And Russia retired the last of theirs years ago in 2019 in favor of the much more effective and accurate Iskander, which Russia has used in Operation Z. This is the photo that Russell took. And again, I think we've all seen a similar type of photo with the writing on the side. He's going to talk about that. Written on the side of the missile in Russian were the words, "For the kids," translated. How stupid would someone have to be to believe that the Russians would not only commit a war crime against the ethnic Russian Ukrainian citizens from the pro-Russian part of Ukraine, but would blatantly add insult to injury and literally implicate themselves before the world by writing something so despicable in Russian for the world to see? Furthermore, their scientific methods of determining the direction a missile came from, including the shape of the crater and where the tail section lands in relation to the warhead. These methods are standard, simple, and used by all militaries around the world. And like the laws of physics, they apply everywhere and in every situation the same. In the photo below, showing the trajectory of the missile fired at Kamarovsk, everything to the left of the red line is territory under the control of the Ukrainian military.
Right.
Everything to the right is what is the Russian advancement and the Russian front. So, if the missile guidance and all the trajectory shows that it came from here, and I'm showing this map to everybody who's listening on the podcast, so you can go check this out, both on the article, and the article link will be in the description notes, or you can also go to the Substack, and the article link will be there as well.
From Scott Ritter's Twitter too, right?
That was from Scott Ritter. Okay. Who, again, shows where the trajectory was that For a full listing of the evidence that proves the missile was fired by the 19th Ukrainian Missile Brigade, based near Dropia, some 45 kilometers from Kramatorsk. This excellent article by Scott Ritter. Okay, there are plenty of other articles too, and he links to those, listing the proof and indications that this was a UCROP false flag attack on their own civilians. Here are some examples. Number one is the smell test. Why would Russians attack ethnic Russian civilians in an area known for its broad support of Russia? That wants to speak Russian, and by the way, that Ukrainians just outlawed their Russian-speaking language. The fake for the kids inscription.
That's a far better smell test than the one done at Duma. So,
right.
You know,
well, it smells like chlorine, like a swimming pool, right? That's just stunningly unbelievable. So the fake for the kids inscription would be the last thing the Russians would ever do. Rocket troops were among the most highly trained and disciplined in any army. If the Russians were going to commit a war crime against civilians, do you really think they would sign their work for the world to see? On top of the fact that, and I was going to say that a missile go boom, usually, they don't expect that a fragment that size is going to remain, that they can read that. Okay, again, the physical evidence proves that the trajectory of the missile, and that trajectory points directly to the Drobopolia, deep inside Ukrainian-held territory, where the 19th Ukrainian Missile Brigade is based. It's impossible for the Russians to have fired a missile from there, unless they had taken over that territory.
Right.
Number four, that they had retired their aged stock of Tochka-U missiles years ago. Number five, that the Ukrainians still have and use those same missiles and have done so on multiple occasions throughout the 8-year Donbass war. So this just kind of breaks it down step by step. Look at the serial number of the missile, and it's the same series and numerically very close to the serial numbers of other Tochka-U missiles that have been known to have been fired by Ukrainian armed forces during the Donbass war in the last 8 years. And again, we've got 8 years of history of looking at these attacks. Number 7 is the exact serial number found on the missile in the train station was recorded in official documents as having been transferred from the USSR to Ukraine in 1991. No wonder why it didn't go boom. It did, but not completely.
Yeah.
It's a 32-year-old missile.
Right.
And there is zero evidence that would support any theory other than a Ukrainian false flag attack on the civilians of Kramatorsk. None. Zero. And I haven't heard any other than them saying that there was. That is a tough nut for the West pro-Nazi propagandists to crack. All the evidence proves they did it beyond any reasonable doubt, and there's no credible evidence of any sort that would support an alternative theory. So what do? They simply make things up, of course. As usual, but with a twist. This time they make up fake news about themselves and try to palm it off as Russian-produced disinformation. Thus we see real first-person on-the-scene videos of the real aftermath of the attack, video of the real serial number all edited together, but with a fake BBC intro and the logo added, and then spread all over the internet with the caption, "Look, the BBC finally told the truth for once." Wow. Mm-hmm. So the professional liars can subsequently now debunk the fake BBC video, along with the real facts the actual videos contain. And then literally all Western propaganda outlets smear the story about the fake video all over the web. The search phrase BBC fake video missile Kramatorsk brings back 55,000 links on Google, 24 million on Bing, and a whopping 25 million results on Yahoo. The Western propagandists claim that the Russians added the fake BBC logo, but why would Russia discredit real proof of what happened by adding a fake BBC logo? The BBC has a well-earned reputation as one of the most mendacious media outlets in the world. Their lies are legion. So why would Russia discredit itself and its own compelling evidence by adding a fake logo of known propagandists? Answer, they didn't. An understanding of the simple fact that modern Western media are the product and descendants of Joseph Goebbels and Ed Bernays is the appropriate foundation for anything regarding Western media presents as fact. Do not expect the BBC to tell the truth for once. Do not expect paid and pathological liars to tell the truth, even once. Do not expect a leopard to change its spots. Understand that they are the enemies of truth and morality, the enemies of humanity, your enemies, who do everything in their power to deceive and confuse you in order to enslave you. Respect for the truth is the basis of all morality. Respect and defend it.
Yep.
Again, we talk about Ed Bernays. This is the second article that mentioned Bernays. Okay, and the last one also talked about Walter Lippmann, another propagandist from the 60s, 50s and 60s, even from the Kennedy days. Okay, so here's an addendum that was written. The list of logical fallacies is an excellent primer of modern propaganda techniques. But when used by professional liars intentionally, they are no longer fallacies, but rather lies, attacks on truth and reality, and on human consciousness. I wanted to include this part. This is the end of it. Fritz Hippler explained that the secret of modern propaganda, and he would know, okay, he was the chief of filmmaking in the Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda during the years of the Nazi Germany. So as he put it, quote, the secret of propaganda is to simplify complex or complicated things, to make them as simple as possible, so even less ingenious men can understand what I mean, and then repeat it every day. That's the secret of modern propaganda. Simplify and repetition. Click on the link, see and hear and see him say it himself. He's very convincing. And a lot of this, honestly, also leads me to think about a barking seal clown that wants to get back into the White House. A lot of that propaganda stuff, repetition, fake news, MAGA. Very, very similar in a lot of ways. So that's our manufacturing consent portion. And I figured it